So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I hope you are having a fantastic day. I am so excited to have this incredible guest speaker with me here today and getting all revved up for our conversation. Her name is Emily Tamayo Maher, and she is a book doula. She will help you birth your book into the world. And I really love, Emily, your one of your clients. Let me read here. She said that you are a therapist for the imagination. Oh my goodness, I love that so much. Just
Thank
keep that
you.
in, a therapist for your imagination. Don't we all need that?
And there's not a better job in the world, in my opinion. Yes, I love drawing out people's creativity, especially in writing.
Oh, what a beautiful, beautiful soul path purpose that you're on, bringing your gifts to the world and helping other people bring their gifts to the world. Emily and I just connected straight away, like, boom, electricity, lightning bolts, and realized that we both have been studying the chakras and working with the chakras for a very long time and have also trained with Anna Dea Judith, which is like the chakra
Mhm.
master and guru in the world. And
Exactly.
so,
Putting
Emily,
out
I'll
new
let
books all
you
the time.
explain it about how you birth through the divine feminine energy coming down the chakras to manifest and create your work with clients in creating books. So I'll let you explain a little bit about like what you do, and then we're going to dive right into your wounds to wisdom to superpower story because it is so interesting.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me. Absolutely. And they tie together really closely because the feminine or manifesting path down the chakras, it gives you something both energetic and in the same way concrete and real and material to follow when you're going through these huge transitions in life. And so, yes, we are both students of the chakras, and I know that I was doing an energy class in a past life when I was working as a school teacher, and I learned about the manifesting path down the chakras. And it applies to all creativity, whether you're building a business or whether you're doing a mission of any kind. But I love talking about it in the context of writing a book. And so often we think about the chakras as the spiritual ascending path up the chakras, starting with the root chakra and going up. But this begins with the crown chakra and works down. So I don't know how familiar, I imagine that listeners are somewhat familiar with the chakras, but I'll kind of go through the system and give just a brief definition of each one. How does that sound?
Sounds great. That sounds really lovely.
Perfect. And I'll apply it directly to the creative writing process. So we start in the crown chakra, and this is where we get those whispers. We get that first tap. If we want to create something, it begins up in the crown chakra. The crown chakra is your spiritual connection to spirit, to the universe, to your higher self, and you get those deeper messages. So one thing I love to say is trust the crown, write it down. Sometimes we don't know which project we're supposed to focus on, but if you just start writing down those messages, they will reward you with more messages. If you honor the gifts you've been given, the whispers of the book, the creativity that's coming your way, it multiplies the more attention you put into it. So the beginning is trust the crown, write it down, use that spiritual connection and just honor it, with I think I would love to start a podcast or write a book on this topic. Just scribble down notes. It doesn't need any organization yet because that comes next. So, in the manifesting path down, the next is the third eye. And so, this is where you really begin to envision this. Your third eye is your psychic connection in a certain sense, but it's also where we get our clairvoyant visions, but simple visions. We dream from the third eye. We have our dreams and our fantasies in the third eye. And so in the symbol of the third eye, there are two wings, and they represent to connect or perceive and to do, to put it down on the page. And so this is where we both outline our book and we give ourselves a little bit of structure. We see what we'd like the book to look like. And then we also get into those fantasies and visions we have for the book. Then we go into the throat chakra. This is where you write the first draft for yourself. This is your expression. This is the truth of everything you want to say. Just open up. And I think it's so important in this part of the process to be playful, to not take yourself too seriously and experiment. And then the heart chakra is our connection, our intimate connection with our creativity. This is what I sometimes call changing the diapers of our creativity, because day after day, we nurture our project into existence, our book into our existence. Solar plexus. This is kind of the center of identity. This is a very energetic, disciplined center, the center of willpower. And so in the creative process, this is where I often direct people into editing, into polishing and getting your creativity ready to be professional in the world. And one thing I love about the balance of this system, you do it with the heart chakra, but also, as you know, you're going to edit, you're going to polish. That's what gives you the freedom to say what you need to say in the throat chakra. So it's kind of the balance of those two sides. Be honest, give your fullest, truest version. And then if there's something that you need to polish to make it more professional, then you can do that as you go, as you make your way down. Then, as we said, the sacral chakra, that's where we birth the book and let it out into the world. And then the root chakra, which is our stability, our financial stability, our security. We reach out like the roots of a tree and spread the message and connect with others. I like to think of it as grassroots marketing, exactly like we're connecting here.
Oh my goodness, I love that so much. And it's like so interesting because I always teach about the chakras, but to have
Yes.
it, told to me in a different way, of what I've been studying, because I've read the book Creating on Purpose with Lion Goodman and Anadea Judith, and I've taken people on retreats and, taught and facilitated about chakras for years. And I've been working with chakras for 30 years because I did clairvoyant training. As you know, that is the basis and the foundation is through the chakras. And so I'm a chakra teacher and energy healer. But I love how you have taken that map and then put it on the birth of your book. And when you said that, you had me. I was like, oh, yes, I want her on my podcast because
Thank you.
I am writing a book and I've just finished an oracle deck. And so I'm literally doing all the editing and I'm in the solar plexus, getting ready to give birth. And bring it out into the world. So I'm like, oh my goodness, I needed to hear this about overlaying that incredible map, the chakra map, so that I can apply that to what I'm going through right now. So thank you, Emily. This is so exciting.
Yes, and it's so exciting for you that you're at the point of birthing and, always remembering when you're at that point of birthing anything out into the world is the flexibility, the sacral chakra, the element of the sacral chakra is water. And we could not give birth without that flexible moving with the excitement, with the fear, with all of the emotions of that point. And so, yes, it's really where, the manifesting energy meets the world. And so, yes, the world is going to start taking over and sculpting. And then as you hand it over through the root chakra, it roots in and takes on a life of its own. I remember the teacher I learned from Jeffrey Allen was one of the initial teachers that I learned this system from. And he always talked about that after you birth it, your creativity is its own child in the world, and it's going to go on beyond you and have that sustainable life. So yes, congratulations. So exciting.
Thank you. I love that you brought up your original teacher. My original teacher is Deanna Marcus. She's a clairvoyant
Oh,
psychic in Portland, Oregon. And that's where I learned about the chakras and went, oh my goddess, this is my life path. This is my map for everything. And so, those for you that are listening and don't know very much about the chakras, they are basically a map of your energetic field. And so the ascending is usually the energy that you use to clear and release and heal and transform. And so it's a release, it's going up the chakras. And you can even see it. It's like, releasing, right? But when
yes,
it comes
running the
back,
energy
yeah,
channels.
running
Yes.
energy, it comes up and out. But when it comes back down, that's the divine feminine flow of creativity. And so it is the perfect map for creating a book. And so just a funny side note, my editor talking about solar plexus, you know, is quite strong and intense. And like, she doesn't miss a beat. Okay. She's a really good editor. Well, I have a few different editors, I should say. Actually, I have three, and they're all different and unique and amazing, and they've all offered different things. And I do recommend having more than one editor because they catch different things. Everybody see things differently, right? But this
Mm.
particular editor, well, two of them are saying, you got to change the commas. And I didn't know that there's an English version, I'm sorry, American English, and there's British English. And the commas go in different places and the words are spelled differently. And because I live in New Zealand, my editor says, you're all over the show. Sometimes you sound British and sometimes you sound American. Like you have to choose. And I'm like, I don't want to choose. I'm both. I'm an American living in New Zealand for 26 years. I am everything. But then I talked to this editor in New York, and she says that they do a different version, a book for America and a book for the rest of the world. And I'm like, oh my goodness, so much to learn. So I thought I'd just pass that on because, in that solar
Absolutely.
plexus energy, it's like, oh, I have to be the creatrix and I have to decide, what am I going to do? What aligns to me? So now I'm going back through my whole edit and going, okay, what feels like a pause? The comma sense. Have some comma sense and just feel into what makes sense. And so that's what I've decided to do, is be the creatrix. And if it's a little bit of this and a little bit of that, well, that's who I am. So
That's your voice. Exactly. That's your expression. And that's the great, I like to call them ideal publishing partners, because it's so wonderful to bring in those partners and objective opinions at that editing stage. But yes, absolutely. One of my partners, Miranda Rice, who writes psychological thrillers that take place in the UK. Whenever we do any partnership, we just decide to go British English. And then I was born in the US. And so, yes, then I go US English. But that's the interesting thing, is that it's your voice. And then sometimes when you can just at the end of the day hand it over to the proofreader and let them really, they haven't seen it before. You've read it through so many times, to be able to surrender it and let go and help someone else birth it, let someone else help you birth it and bring it out into the world. And when you separate it into those parts, I think it also energetically shows you how to handle each stage. When you're just starting to write, do not self-edit, do not self-censor. Really just let it build that momentum, because that's the other thing. When you're extremely playful and unique and authentic, then that will shine through all the way to the final product. And by the time you get to that ending, I mean, this, by the time it gets out into the world, it is such a journey. You've been through so much together. So yes, bring that childish innocence in the beginning, and it will completely shape it into something so much more unique.
Absolutely. How wonderful. So much to learn through the whole process. It's just been incredible. This has been a dream of mine for all my life, and it's finally happening, and I'm finally
Congratulations.
manifesting it into physical reality. And it's really quite transformative and a healing journey, a spiritual journey all on its own, as you know. And so I love
Absolutely.
that you are a book doula and how I somehow magnetically brought you into my sphere. And here we are.
Absolutely. And when it comes to energy, I really do believe, and I've felt this so many times and experienced it with clients, is that your book is a being. Those whispers that I talked about at the beginning of the process, it's an energetic being and it attracts what it needs. It attracts those ideal publishing partners in order to come into life. And so I think that too is an important part of it, is being able to trust the spiritual side of it, because often what blocks us is the fear and the doubt. Who am I to write this? And all of those things. And the universe, in a certain sense, is pulling the book out of you. And so that's another thing I love about helping people with their books and being able to give them that trust and being able to attract what the book needs in order to do the work it's going to do in the world and be successful.
I 100% agree with you. My book, Wounds to Wisdom, has been waking me up at 4 in the morning. And it's
Oh,
like, it just says, okay, you ready? And I'm like, okay, let's do it. And I'm not a morning person. And it's just flowing through me and it fills me up with joy and happiness. It's not a chore. It's like, I can't wait. Like, even sometimes when I put my head on the pillow to go to sleep, I'm like, oh, I'm looking forward to waking up in the morning and having my coffee and writing.
absolutely. I live for that. And the world needs that book so much. Exactly. The Wounds to Wisdom journey. And that's the beautiful thing about creating art, is the hardest things we go through, we're able to connect with others and communicate, and then also be a guiding light for them as they go through their own wounds to wisdom journeys.
Absolutely. That is why I'm on the path that I'm on, is my wounds, my transforming my own personal wounds into my wisdom, and then realizing that I could then take that wisdom and turn it into my superpowers. And so that's the work that I do with my clients. I've been doing this for a long time, and I came up with the tagline, transforming wounds to wisdom, wisdom to superpowers. I think it was around 8 or 9 years ago now. And so it's always been my like tagline, because that's what I do. And it wasn't until this book started speaking to me, an oracle deck, Wounds to Wisdom Oracle. It said, this is what you're supposed to be doing. Everything is based on this. And, and just really like calling that forth into my consciousness. And isn't it funny that sometimes our pathway is right there in front of us, but we're not quite ready yet to completely see it and step upon it? Because when you do, and the tire hits the pavement, it's all go. So I wasn't quite ready yet until recently. Turned 50 years old, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready now.
This is the time. Absolutely. That's how I actually felt about my transition. Before I worked as a book coach, I was a teacher. And so those books just started tapping me on the shoulder and I started to get the ideas. But oh my goodness, I will tell you, I was clinging to my old sense of security so hard. I feel like the universe had to grab me by the ponytail and just like pull me out of that job into my next manifestation. And that's the other thing, is trust the timing of the universe. I think especially when it comes to writing, so often we say, oh my goodness, I've had this book inside of me for a decade. People say that to me a lot. And then when it's time to come out, things come together and help. If when you're studying the chakras, when you have a connection to spirit, oh my goodness, you're never alone on that journey. And thank goodness, thank goddess.
Absolutely. So that is a good segue into tell us about your Wounds to Wisdom to Superpowers story. I'm so excited.
Oh, thank you. And I hope it's one that a lot of people can relate to because, you know, in the education system, it's the traditional education system can be so strict and structured that often as creatives, we want to help, we want to share our gifts. But I'll tell you, honestly, I felt so burned out on that path. And so, you know, what are the things we want to do through our creative projects? We want to grow ourselves, but we also want to contribute. We want significance and we want to be able to connect. And so, honestly, you know, I live in Bogota, Colombia, and I worked at a very elite private school that where I really wanted to serve kids and help them get a wonderful education. But oh my goodness, I will tell you, we did with preschoolers, homework starts at 4 years old. I mean, that's kind of what the um, competitive society can do is where we just, you know, we think of ourselves as super teachers or super parents, but often we're working ourselves and our kids into the ground. And so, you know, for 7 years, I was working at this school. I taught at all levels. I tutored after school because I wanted that sense of connection and service. But I was working myself into the ground. And it just got to the point where I had nothing left to give. And I think when we do also get into that really competitive mode, you know, I no longer felt that I was contributing. I felt like I was on the cusp of being fired all the time. And I was putting so much work in order to be able to do this. And there was one, I will never forget this. It was February 2018. And here we are in February 2025, when
Oh,
we're
it's a bit of
having
a
this
full circle.
conversation. Oh my goodness, I will never forget it because I was kind of clinging to the sense of security in my job. And I had to recorrect just an immense amount of work. And I ended up staying up 2 nights in a row. And then when I got home on the third day, I was just exhausted. And I collapsed onto the bed. And my son, Martin, was 3 years old. And he walked into the room and he had an empty bottle of cold medicine in his hand. And oh my goodness, it was one of the most startling moments I have ever lived in my life. And so, you know, I didn't know how much medicine had been in the cold. I didn't even know he had a cold because I had been working 23 hours a day for several days in a row. And so it was kind of, you know, this job that had already been burning me out was starting to take me away from the things that mattered most. One of the reasons I became a teacher was to be able to give this special education to my son, but it was destroying both of us together. And so I remember that night, you know, he was just newly verbal and I'm like, did you drink this? And he said yes. And so I don't drive. I live in a very large city. And so I ran down to the drugstore and I asked what I should do. And there was a doctor there. It happened to be in the drugstore at that time. And she actually went with me to the hospital. I speak Spanish. I live in a Spanish speaking country, but I was very rattled. And so I was just so grateful that she took down the times and she escorted me through the process. And my little 3-year-old had to have his stomach pumped that very night. But that is, you know, we all go to those moments where it just becomes obvious that the life we're living is more frightening than the life that we're scared to jump into. And so I realized that at this point as a teacher, I didn't feel like I was contributing. I felt like a zombie going in and following the structured motions of the world. And so I was taking on clients. I started taking on clients while I was still teaching. And then that year, June 2018, I stopped being a teacher. And oh my goodness, I have never looked back. It's interesting because I was very frightened to start my own business and be responsible for, all of the income, the organization, taking care of the clients myself, all of those things. But oh my goodness, when you love something and you're passionate about it, it just replaced everything. My sense of security and my passion were one and the same. And I think one of the things that helps the most is that momentum. You rest when you need to rest. You give the best you can give because you are balanced in your meaning method or in your passion process. But yes, having that new balance of doing something that's really meaningful and that I love to do in the world has made the connections that need to be connected. And so, yes, I suppose the universe really did need to give me a little smack in order to get out of my job. But yes, not relying on an exterior source of security, but really finding that energetically within myself has been the best shift I've ever made. And of course, now I feel that I'm contributing so much more of myself to the world.
Absolutely. And it is those kind of spiritual crises that we have
Oh,
that really wake us up. And if we're not listening, I know firsthand from experience that the universe does just kind of go, wake up. How can I get your attention? Are you listening? And so I totally get it. I love what you said about meaning method and passion process. Ooh,
mm.
that just lights me up inside. So can you dive a little deeper into what you mean by meaning method and passion process?
Yes. So the meaning method was the title of my business. That's that I decided to give that title to my business. That's the first website I ever had. I made it the title of my first book, which was not about the chakras. And then as I learned that energetic system down the chakras, that I rewrote my book and that became the new book as well. And so passion process, those are the ways that I think of, this energetic way of using the inspiration of the universe and really manifesting it in the world. So, yes, for me, that's directly tied to the feminine manifesting path down the chakras. And also, I think one fun image that, in the heart chakra, there is there's kind of this symbolism around the sacred tree. And that's really what we're doing when we're creating a book is we're taking the light and we're processing it, and then we're really mixing it with the earth, and then we're nourishing and we're creating something new and that contribution to the world. And so yes, I love that. And whereas before, when I was working as a teacher in a job, it was kind of, relying on an exterior structure in order to have security. I definitely believe I was clinging to that exterior security. And then when you know energy work, you're able to create an inner predictability and you're able to create a path to follow in this other way.
I love that so much. Feels intuitively, I'm getting this hit about the meaning method and like how you're going to create a method based on the meaning method, and it's your method that then goes into maybe your next book or your teaching or something. There's something there, and I love that so much. Oh my goodness, I had to share that. When it comes down, I'm like, just gotta share.
Oh,
But
yes.
it makes sense that you were a teacher as well, because even though you're now not teaching in that paradigm, you're teaching in this new paradigm that you have created, which all of you that are listening, Emily is going to be in my leadership summit too, speaking of new
Oh,
paradigm. And so I'm really excited to have that conversation with you about leadership, because this conversation is so interesting, and I know the next one is going to be interesting too. So just want to say, if you're listening and you're loving on Emily, like I am,
Oh,
she's going to be
thank
in the
you.
Leadership Summit as well. So that's going to be another really dynamic and interesting transmission.
Mutual Admiration Society. Yes.
I love that. And so what do you think that I understood the whole transformation. So now can you explain the superpowers that came out of that?
And that's, it's so good that you mention it because I suppose in a certain sense, I painted that teaching path in a little bit of a negative light. But yes, I am a teacher. And so, for instance, now on social media or different freebies I create, those are now my lesson plans. I believe what I needed to learn was to have the love and confidence in myself to know that I could do better teaching in my own way rather than relying on an institution or a structure to kind of house what I was doing and to just follow my soul and follow my gut and teach in the way that I could connect at a soul level, because that's another thing. When you're working for someone else, you're doing their curriculum, you're following their rules. And really, when you can start to have the confidence to say, you want to know what? I can see this in my third eye, I can see this in my vision, and I'm willing to have the discipline and the love to bring it into life. And so, of course, the the teaching prowess. I had always been searching for what was my purpose in the world, and I thought I found it with teaching, and I did find it with teaching. I just needed to break through that shell and do it on my own. And then also the consistency, the rigor, and all of those things. I bring it to my work, creating books. And so it's so funny when you leap off the edge of the world, or what seems like the edge of the world, when you're in that safe little cocoon of a job, it seems like you're doing something totally different until you realize, yep, you're still a teacher, you're still connecting with people, you're still helping them grow and walking them through a process, but just in a different way as an entrepreneur rather than a school teacher.
That's amazing. I love that you connected the dots there, because isn't it true? Like, this is the wounds to wisdom to superpower story, because everything that happens to us is happening for us. Everything. But when we're stuck and we're not quite in that alignment, it does feel like, why am I here? What am I doing? And the misalignment can bring all that negative energy. And it's not actually until you come into the wisdom and then discover your superpowers that you can then look back and go, oh, right, that is what cultivated and got me to where I am now. So I love that. Thank you so much. And it is bringing everything that you've done, but then the way you're doing it and the way you're bringing it is on your terms, which is in alignment with your soul purpose, which is why you are passionate and purposeful and like on purpose. That's where the energy
On
comes.
purpose.
Yeah, that's where the energy comes, is when we are on purpose and in alignment with what we're meant to do and why we're here. And you are doing it. So I'm so proud of you. What an inspirational story.
Thank you. And actually, as you were talking about that stuckness, the metaphor of the egg was just coming through really strong in the way that, yes, we feel stuck. We feel frustrated oftentimes. We're like pressing against this, what feels like a wall, and we're trapped inside the wall. But it is, I mean, I just think of now, it seems like just cracking through a shell where all of those nutrients inside the stuckness were really the wisdom that we needed to bring forth. Yes, absolutely.
But I love the metaphor of the egg. Isn't it true? When we're in that egg, we feel like we're stuck, that we can't get out. It's dark. I can't move. All this, feeling. And then you start breaking through that and you realize that it's actually quite thin. It's not a thick wall after
Just a
all,
shell. Yeah.
but you can't break through until you're strong enough and you're ready.
Absolutely. And it's part of the lesson. Oh, we could extend this metaphor. Yes.
I love it so much.
Infinity and beyond.
Woo!
Yes.
And then you become the bird or the
Exactly. And
butterfly.
and I
Come
would say
out
that's
and
how business feels to me. It feels like flying. But yes, we need that strength in order to have the confidence to fly. It's
mm,
all it's all a part of the natural process. Yes, and it
yeah,
is. So every time we feel stuck, we can just realize, well, you want to know what? It feels frustrating. I'm pounding against this, but you know what? It's just a shell. I'm going to get through it.
absolutely. It's so true. So true. I love that so much. Oh my goodness. I'm loving this conversation. So, okay, I have a question. I've got this book. So I've done the Wounds to Wisdom Oracle and Awaken the Oracle Within. They're two, because I'm a Gemini. Yeah, of course, I have to do things in tandem.
Beautiful. I'm a Cancer.
Two Oracle cards that are getting ready, decks that are getting ready to come out. And I realize now in our conversation why I know they have to be in paper. They have to be in book format, like something that I
Yes.
can open, something I can, because I know they have these digital decks now, and I think that's
Oh,
great.
great.
But I just know that mine has to be something I can hold, something people can use and work with. And the tree, right? The
Mhm.
chamber in the heart with the sacred tree and the roots, like that's the it just shows me it's a reflection back, a mirror that they have to be in paper form, like so exciting. So, but now I'm also writing not just one, but two books.
Gemini.
It's really like opened the door for Pandora's box to just like all this stuff is channeling through. I'm on fire. So with my book, once I have it finished and I say, Emily, can you help me with this? What can you do for me? Like once it's all done and I've written it, I've done my editing, I feel like, oh, my book is ready now. And I say, how can you help me with this? Or actually you probably come on even before the book's done.
I love coaching through every part of the process, all the way to marketing. And so there are a lot of
Oh,
different ways to market a book. And I created this book sales bingo sheet, which I just love. And so I have a few different freebies. One is the book sales bingo. So if you are about to put a book onto the market and you don't know if it's going to be successful, you don't know how to reach the people, book sales bingo, I have it for beginners and advanced, and it just shows you all your different options. And I put a lot of thought into the way it's arranged, because each different cube, if you go across and connect them, four corners, diagonal, straight across, straight down, everything you do to market your book builds on the other. So this is completely free. And then another fun freebie is the writing and yoga staycation. So if you love energy work, if you love the chakras, this is a 1 week staycation that you can do at your home that gives you a yoga pose, a writing prompt, and an artist date. And so if you really want to get back into the creative process in a way that's fun, I love providing the writing and yoga staycation.
Emily, this has been
So
such a
yeah,
dynamic and amazing conversation, and I've really enjoyed having you on the podcast. I understand you have a book out as well. And do you have any last and final words of wisdom?
yes. Oh, thank you so much. So the book is The Meaning Method, a spiritual path to writing and publishing. And it really, all of the depth that I have learned throughout the years through from many teachers of getting into the chakras and doing the manifesting path down the chakras. Oh my goodness, felt so good to get it into one book. So if you do want to write a book and you're on the publishing path, this has everything you need to know, from inspiration to creating a regular writing habit, outlining to publishing to marketing. I just put it all in a book, which is the wonderful thing about putting books into the world, is you get to just release all of your wisdom. Yep.
Oh, great. And is this book available on a digital level, or is it a hard
Yes.
copy?
Yeah. It's print on demand on Amazon or Kindle.
Oh, great. Oh, fantastic. Okay, so the meaning method, I was confused. I thought you said that was do you have two books or is it just one?
Well, yes, and this is a funny little secret. The book evolved. And so what I did when when I was still a teacher, I wrote a book and then I kind of scrapped it for parts. I took all of the best book parts out of my first book and I turned it into a new book. And so that's the other thing that's beautiful about books is they, especially when you self-publish, I was so happy to self-publish this book. And so it can evolve with you. And so my first and second book are the same book.
Oh,
Actually.
so this is the evolved version then, the meaning method.
It's the evolved version, yes.
Oh my God, thank you so much, Emily. This has been so powerful and so amazing, and you're offering such high value. So thank you so much. It was so wonderful to connect with you. Do you have any last final words of wisdom?
Well, I think that's just the beautiful part of being an entrepreneur is you do anything you need to do in order to connect and to do the work that you love doing in the world. And so, yes, flexibility, positive energy, and that's the magic that goes into creating your book. So I am so excited to read your book as well. And thank you so much for having me on the podcast.
Thank you. So for those that are listening, in the link below will be links to Emily's book and the 2 freebies. So excited to get the freebies. Thank you so much, Emily, and have a beautiful, beautiful, blessed day. And for all of you that are listening, may you have a wonderful day as well. And remember that your wounds will transform into your wisdom, and your wisdom can transform into your superpowers. And so you're not broken and you're not stuck. You're in an egg. I love that so much. You might just be in this egg or this cocoon and it feels dark and it feels scary and you feel like, will I ever get out of here? But you will, because the shell will be actually very thin by the time you're ready to break through and fly.
Beautiful.
Love that.
Namaste.